waiting for Skype to just like die. It seems under so much stress right now.
Yes, I see it live.
Woohoo!
Oh wow, you really did have to obliterate Chris's layout. Well, it's for the best.
And with the screen share, they don't have to necessarily watch the stream 6 seconds delayed. They can just see me fiddle around and, you know, whatever bad frame rate it's going to be in. But is this the page I should be starting on?
No.
Sweet.
Okay, where should I be starting?
So we have a docs.qmk.fm, but we also have a prettier version on the beta site, beta.docs.qmk.fm. I don't know what you'd prefer to start with there.
Well,
All right.
It's the same content, just different designs.
Okay, so you're gonna okay.
Is the stream working still?
yes.
It's like still like
It's
got
good.
an infinite loading loop for me.
Try hitting the F5 button.
It's working for me.
Yep. For
right.
everyone who is in chat, by the way, are you able to hear us all nice and beautifully with our voices?
Sound check, please. While my freaking Twitch just like doesn't want to show me the stream. Oh my god. No sound? Alright, you're probably trolling. All hunky dory. Alright. Thanks to all the actual good people in the chat.
He probably just needs to click the mute button.
He probably doesn't want to hear us anyways.
Okay, so it looks like everything is good. Except for Brian, everything is good?
What's wrong with me?
Oh, you said it wasn't loading your stream.
Oh. I think I'm good now. It came back and everything looks fine. So, hopefully. Anyways, hello everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Top Clack, where we're hopefully going to be getting a very awesome lesson in QMK by some experts, we being Huey and myself, and the experts being Jack of OLKB and Zach, aka Scully Dazed of Clueboard, who have been super kind to us to take some time out of their busy days to go through a little QMK training with us, and they even provided us with fancy QMK compatible boards. Very exciting. We built those last night on stream if you wanted to check that out. But yeah, for anyone that's unaware, but if you're a watcher of Top Clack, you probably already know that Huey and I don't really care for QMK. The main reason being is because we're not smart enough to use it. So this is a special kind of training session that is hopefully going to correct that and turn Huey and myself into true believers and make us never want to use stuff like Bootmapper Client ever again. So that's the main goal here. We're going to try to do a little step-by-step tutorial on what to do. We had very little time to prepare. Huey and I still have no idea what we're doing. We didn't even know what site we need to start on. So it's going to be a very fun and probably aggravating journey for some of us. But it'll be a good time nonetheless. And hopefully when this is over, we can kind of edit it down to a little bit quicker version, and it'll be a little bit more of a tutorial for all of you people out there that actually want to see how QMK works and what you should be doing. So without further ado, Zach, Jack, thank you so much for coming on and taking time out to help out noobs like us.
Happy to be here.
Now that you're here, I've always wanted to ask, probably what a lot of people who might not know anything about QMK or just getting in the hobby will ask, what is QMK? The big question.
So QMK is kind of the well, as far as people goes, it's me, Scully, and the areas of Aradox EZ, and we kind of make up what we call like the members or like people that kind of make a lot of the big decisions in QMK. But as far as like the software side, it's mainly QMK firmware, but it's also QMK toolbox, the docs for QMK, and eventually hardware that we're going to be trying to develop, and kind of some open source stuff, technical references for keyboards and stuff like that.
Okay, so I guess follow-up question: why QMK? Why should people be using QMK, and why is it important in the community?
So for
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So from a usability standpoint, one of the things QMK does is make a lot of the custom keyboard stuff easier. For example, if you want to make a shifted key, so you want to press a single key, for example, and have the left paren open be typed. That requires holding down Shift and typing 9 usually. But QMK, you just have there's special key codes that will do the holding Shift and sending that for you, as opposed to having to custom program that like you might with TMK or just go without like you would on most other firmwares.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So obviously a lot more powerful than a lot of the more basic things. QMK, arguably the future of custom keyboards, and we're gaining a little bit of traction through noobs like Huey and myself. Obviously, we'll hopefully be learning this well. So where exactly do we start right now? Like, take us through what we need to set up our environment and everything that we need to actually use QMK on our boards.
Also want to add, as a reference point for anyone who is joining or new, we are starting at the point of we just assembled our QMK compatible keyboards. We put our switches on, we put our keycaps on, it's plugged in, and now I decided, you know what? I want to change this page up and page down in this corner. I don't know where to start for QMK. And this is us starting here.
So if you look at the docs page you have open, can you make it a little bigger? Like you have some black bars on the top and bottom.
That, I
Just
mean,
people can see it.
I can, the best thing is zoom in.
That works too, yeah. So if we go to, I'm just like retelling you where to click. Install the build tools there, the second link there. And this is the where everything that you need to know to get installed is. So depending on what OS you're using, there's different instructions, but you're using Windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go with MSys2, I think is what we recommend, and it's generally the easiest thing to use. So yeah, you can click on that.
All right.
So it looks like starting off, install by downloading and follow the instructions there. I see 2 installers at the top. I should probably get the 64-bit one.
Yep.
That's my guess. And let's navigate to my learning QMK folder that I made just for this.
Oh, I probably should have done that too.
I'm clicking the installer, and in 23, it's climbing now, 26, down to 22 seconds. This will be going and good. So what is MSys2 for people who may be curious? What are we setting up?
It tries to turn your machine into more of a Unix box, basically. The description there is pretty good, actually. You heard that. But basically, you're going to be able to compile through this rather than through CMD or any command line application on Windows.
Cool.
All right. Mine looks like it's going to take a lot longer to download, so I'll just follow along on Huey's.
Okay. I'll just install it there for now. If I regret that later, that'll be okay.
Class is in session, says Megaforce. That's right. We gonna learn today.
So is there anything else I should be doing while I'm waiting for this to install, or is this kind of just the first step? Get MSys2, get it installed, and then we proceed.
Did you want to do GitHub stuff? As in like make an account? Because that might be a nice
Both of you
intro to that too.
Both of you are the teachers. If you think it's something that anyone who is as new as we are to be worth learning, then why not?
I think so. What do you think, Scully?
I could go either way. On the one hand, it is a bunch extra to learn. But on the other hand, it does make it easy to save and to share, and sharing is important for getting help from other people.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, if you ever run into any troubles, you can just upload it there and then share a link. So let's do that. While that's installing, let's go to github.com. I assume you don't have an account yet.
I do not have an account, but let's go to
All right, perfect.
github.com.
So go ahead and pick a username, email, password.
I'll move this to a different window so no one sees
Yeah.
my email.
Yeah, really. Set up a live stream, get hacked within 3 minutes.
I'm going to be choosing the unlimited public repositories for free plan because I do not know if I'll be using GitHub enough to pay some dollars a month.
Yeah.
Apparently, I had an account already.
Should
Cool.
I have them help me set up an organization? No, probably not.
No.
Okay, continue. Tailoring my experience.
Is this confidential information on there still? I just wonder if you want to show it on the screen.
I don't think so. No, it's just
Okay, yeah.
totally new to programming. I will be using this for other.
On the stream, you're
Q.
still on the MSys installer, by the way. I don't know if that's intentional or not.
It should switch on the stream because it's behind. Yes, now it's switching over.
Oh, okay. My bad.
What is the closest you would describe yourself? I am a student.
Oh boy, I love
What are you
these.
interested in? QMK.
You're not a student, what?
Student in the
A student of
That's fine.
QMK.
Oh,
gonna-
There we go.
increase our renown with GitHub. We'll get on the featured page or something. All right, so now you have an account. You got a cool little randomly generated avatar. Now we're going to navigate to the QMK repository. You can up at the search bar. I think you just search QMK. It should be the first thing that pops up. Let's make a liar out of me. Oh yeah, there you go. So obviously you want to start it, and then
Well, this is a
we'll
lot to
work
look
it.
at. I just clicked this and I'm seeing a lot. This
Okay.
is in the past where I've gotten lost because people just tell me go here and then I see it's a list of things.
Right.
How do I dissect
Yeah,
this?
the organization here isn't like optimal because you see all the files that are in the firmware. Then at the end of that, then you see the README, which is like kind of the most important part of that.
It's
Uh,
great for programmers. It's great for people who work on it all the time. Daunting if you've never actually done this.
mhm.
Yeah, for like an absolute noob like me goes here. I see all this. I don't even know what most of this stuff is,
Mhm.
and it's definitely very overwhelming.
So from here, there's a little fork button in the top right. You can click on that.
I need to verify my email address that everyone can see now.
Sorry.
Okay.
Forgot that.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Well, yeah, use that 6-second delay.
In before I'm getting all the spam. It's okay. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, I mean, worse is that someone takes it over or something, but
So what exactly is the fork option? What does that accomplish?
so fork is a term within Git that basically allows you to I mean, the name kind of tries to imply it, but to go off of the main like repository and make your own version of it, and from there you can have it exist by itself, and then you can send what are called pull requests or PRs back to the main QMK repository for it to be merged in, and then get updated everywhere basically.
Okay.
There we go. Now I'm forking it.
And this is actually how TMK or QMK started. We forked TMK, or I did way back before QMK was the thing,
So
and just started adding stuff.
I clicked the fork button, some kind of loading thing happened,
Yep.
and now I'm back. I'm forked, I guess.
Yep. Now this is your fork of QMK. You can see man of interest / QMK firmware.
Okay.
So from here, you have complete control of this repository now, of your repository. So you can push up there, you can delete stuff, you can do whatever you want. It won't affect the main fork.
Okay.
Origin, upstream, whatever. So from here,
How's MSys2 doing?
yeah,
MSys2 is 100%. Let's go to next and let's
Nice.
run it.
Yeah.
Okay, MSys2. It's a black window. Cool. I have a dollar sign. I have money.
Cash money.
Is that all QMK is? We're just getting money?
Now, in order to mine QMK.
Probably not optimal to do that. I'll just have it like this then. Okay. So I have MSys open, and I have my fork open. I have my keyboard plugged in. What's the next step in setting everything up? Probably going back to your site that says to install the build tools.
Yeah, so we
Open
have
the
those.
shortcuts. Navigate
wanna-
to your QMK checkouts.
So here we have a couple options. We can download it or we can check it out via Git. Scully, do you feel like trying to explain Git at all?
It is basically a tool that helps you manage source code, manage changes. Getting into it more than that is probably beyond the scope of this video, the stream. I would say just treat it as a magic box right now.
Okay.
You run Git and it fetches code for you.
I like magic.
I understand magic. That's a word I've heard before.
Oh, okay. So you mean I don't have to understand how it works? Okay. But the so we need to run Git commands on MSys2 in order to get it checked out. I honestly this is something we probably need to update, but I don't know if we have Git installed already on MSys2.
I think it does come by default. Let's just give it a
Okay.
try and see what happens.
Yeah, just run git in the MSys2 window.
Okay. git git bash git command not found.
So real quick, run pacman
PACMAN.
space dash and capital S lowercase u space git
Uppercase S, lowercase u, then
space git. Is it Scully? You mean it space before get there. And then enter.
things happened. It's asking me if I
Uh,
want to proceed with this installation.
Go ahead and hit enter. Enter defaults to yes, if it's capitalized like that. All right, so this is like your terminal interface here. So this is what you're gonna want to get comfortable seeing, because this is what we do all the compiling from, all the Git stuff from, and even flashing too if you want to do that from there. But before we do any of this, while this is installing, I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but you don't need to actually be downloading QMK at all to flash QMK onto your board. So we could demo that real quick. If you want to download the QMK toolbox, it'll automatically load the default layouts if you click a certain sequence of buttons, which is obvious. It's not a secret sequence of buttons. It's just a sequence.
Where am I going for this?
If you want to search for QMK toolbox, and it should pop up.
Just in Google. QMK toolbox is the QMK/QMK toolbox.
Here it's a little confusing, but you need to go to releases to see the downloads. Releases are like every version we release.
So there's
We
10
stick there.
releases.
And right there. And then you can download the Windows version,
The exe or the install exe.
the one you want.
Hmm.
Probably the install is what you want.
We can help you make a decision if you want.
I mean, they're different file sizes. I don't know if they're the same or not. Okay, cool. I got this cool file. I guess I'll pop it open and see what happens. Yes, I would like to allow this unknown published thing to be installed on my hard drive. I am the administrator computer. Don't tell me otherwise. And I guess I will be launching it. That was nice and quick.
It's pretty tiny.
Hey,
Very
it says
so-
a Clueboard is connected, which is completely correct.
Wow, progress. Okay, I like this.
And so from here, if you see the keyboard from QMK.fm
Yes.
on the second, if you select, was it Clueboards 66 Rev 3? Is that what he has?
Yeah, Rev 3.
And then hit load there next to it. And now you can flash it. So in order to flash it, you need to be able to put it into DFU mode.
So if you press hold down function and S and then R, that will put it into the reset or the flashing mode.
Function S R. Okay, heard the USB HID device disconnected, and I heard it reconnect. So I believe I'm in flashing mode.
Yep. So this is DFU mode or flashing mode, and then you can hit flash right there. And it should fire
Towards
away.
Top
Oh,
top
there it
right.
is. Flash. Okay. It has been flashed.
There you go.
So does that mean the default layout has been applied to that keyboard now?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Are you following along, Brian?
I'm following along in real time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you can do the periodic Rev 1 or 2, doesn't matter. We'll work with you.
Okay. Yeah. My MSys literally like just finished installing, so I've just been watching. Apparently my internet is just taking a really heavy hit right now.
My MSys is doing a lot of things right now. Oh, it's on
Wow.
34 out of 34 though.
Cool. Good timing. So yeah, that's one thing you can do with the toolbox. It also does HID listen. Scully, do you have any like default outputting stuff or debugging stuff on yours?
It does default. It outputs like the keyboard start and a couple other things. Yeah.
If it's enabled.
Yeah. When you change RGB modes, it outputs stuff too.
Do you need to enable it with the key code first before it'll do that? I think so.
No, I have that enabled by default.
Yeah, okay. So if you change RGB modes, I don't know what key sequence that is, but if you do that, it should show it in blue there.
He needs to take it out of DFU mode first. So I guess replug it.
Oh. You put it back in there, maybe?
Okay. I have reconnected the Clueboard.
And then what sequence is it?
So actually you flashed the new default layout, so your function probably moved left one to the 1U key.
Okay.
So yeah, function S and spacebar should cycle through some RGB modes.
There you go. So
I do not
can
believe
see.
so.
it did.
it
We
did?
could see it.
Okay.
If you look at the blue text on the screen,
Okay.
it's talking to the toolbox and it's outputting what the
Oh,
keyboard
interesting.
is doing, basically.
Yeah, the first few RGB modes are very subtle to detect the change.
Yeah, I was physically looking at
Um,
the keyboard.
You can also do function plus S and any of the numbers 1 through I think 6 or 7 to go to different directly to different animation modes.
Ooh.
Yes, this is a feature that allows keyboard makers to kind of really customize the experience with people wanting to debug stuff or, just kind of see what their computers or their keyboard's doing while they're doing stuff. Scully's taking advantage of this. I haven't quite done as much.
Or sometimes just when people get into weird situations with their keyboard and they're like, what's going on? This can give us the information we need to say, oh, it's doing such and such, like a bad config value got into there, or somehow it's a bad assumption has happened, things like that.
Okay, so would you guys agree that this is the best and most fundamental way to flash a QMK compatible board?
The toolbox, yeah, hands down.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with the command line, yeah, this is definitely the most GUI friendly. And especially if you want to like flash the default, which I realize isn't super common when you're like trying to mess with stuff. But obviously it can flash custom files as well with the open the file menu and stuff.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So I've
Okay.
flashed the default layout on my board.
And the default layouts it loads are always up to date too. So every commit we make to the QMK repo, it sends a little builder thing to build the new defaults, and then it uploads them to qmk.fm, and then from there is where the toolbox downloads them. So
Okay. So now that we're fairly familiar with how to flash the QMK boards now, what about making and applying like specialized layouts? Like how to customize, your own layouts and your own function layers and all these fancy tools like tap dancing that we hear so much about.
yeah, so now we have Git installed. If we go back to the QMK page on GitHub, we will get a so your fork of it, whoever that.
Of it.
Yeah, I don't know if you have that open still.
I do somewhere. No, here we go.
All right, so we see the green clone or download button.
Yes.
Click that, and then we'll want to hit. I guess I forgot about the SSH scrap. Let's just use HTTPS for now. So that link there, copy that.
Okay.
And then go to MSys.
Over in
And type in git space clone space, and then to paste you might need to do something special here, but I think the easiest way is just to right click and hit paste. Yeah, it's shift insert instead of
insert. Interesting.
yeah, and then hit enter here.
So now it's cloning it.
Oh, I probably should have asked you where you wanted it, but
That's all right.
it's putting it wherever you were. It might be just in the C.
Yeah, it's gonna be my C.
It might be. I think you're in your home folder. I'm not exactly sure where that is on MSys.
It's the MSys home folder, which is like /c MSys home, your username, I think.
Okay, so it's it'll be a little confusing. So previous to this, you would have done like CD space and then wherever you want it to download. Maybe we should do that anyway. I don't know. This might take a while to download.
This is probably fine because this is the easiest once you're in the terminal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if you finding it in the Explorer at first is going to be a little bit
Confusing.
yeah. So type in cd space QMK firmware here. Sorry, QMK _ firmware.
You can see the name of the folder it like downloaded it into right below your clone command. If you're ever confused about like where that went,
Okay.
it usually goes to the name of the repo.
So cd QMK firmware. I am now in QMK firmware.
There you go, and you can type ls to see all the files and folders in there. Looks pretty good, pretty standard.
Yep.
And then from here, this is where you're going to stay to build the firmware. So if you want to, okay, so from here we need to run the MSys script that's provided with QMK, and we now have that on our hard drive, so that it's now possible, whereas it wasn't before.
Mm-hmm.
So
if we go back to our documentation folder page, that it should be the last step in that now.
Under the install build tools page.
Yeah.
Yep.
So scroll up just a little bit.
Oops, sorry.
You were right there. Yeah.
Run.
So you see we.
util.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm running this in MSys.
Yep.
Oops, it's not. Control V.
Not shift insert or whatever.
Let's, enter a selection.
So just hit enter here.
All okay. Enter another selection.
Yeah. So this is something we need to kind of redo, in that you shouldn't have to get a prompt for each one of these things, but just hit enter again
Just
and hit enter again. Yeah.
I will trust the magic box.
Yeah. Brian, has yours downloaded yet?
Yeah, but instead of struggling to catch up, I'm just trying to follow along still.
Sure.
I'll probably just go through it with you guys here, and then I'll either towards the end or afterwards, I'll just go through it all really fast. I'm understanding most of this, thankfully.
we can we can run it through you with you again. I mean, the case I'm worried about is if there's some sort of problem, it'd be nice to like debug that live and kind of work that into either the guide or just the video as well.
Yeah.
I've started taking notes on what we need to improve in our process based on some of this already.
Yeah, hopefully this is as helpful to both of you as it is to Brian and I.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because the people that you usually work with probably already know enough about what's going on to where the terminology and what's expected makes a lot more sense. You're probably not used to working with people that have actually zero idea what is supposed to be happening.
There are some people that
like all this stuff is I'm watching everything and like all these bars fill up to 100% and like all this things happening and I have no idea what any of it means.
So with the QMK toolbox, for example, if Brian also had a Clueboard on him, he's like, "Hey Huey, I made this layout and I have it as a hex file. I could just load it on the QMK toolbox as a local file, put my Clueboard into the programming mode, open it, flash it, and then be basically good to go with that new layout, for example."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
That's simple.
Installing Python too. I learned that in college.
Where's your Python 1?
Where's Python 1?
Yeah, so this part it'll definitely take a while.
So what exactly is being accomplished right now?
So here we're installing like all the build tools, which is like all the development environment stuff that will help you actually build the firmware. And unfortunately, there's a lot that needs to be downloaded for that to work.
So when you say building firmware, does that effectively mean building a custom layout?
Yeah, so it's compiling the C code into, effectively a binary, and then that binary is what you're kind of sending off to the keyboard.
Okay.
It's essentially the exe for the keyboard.
Okay.
All right.
Magic Box is creating keyboard.exe for me.
You're installing a whole bison. Come on, Huey.
and with this quote unquote keyboard.exe, I can use it to change the layout I'm currently using.
Yeah. It's kind of like compiling a new program that has the layout that you want. Is basically what you're doing.
Okay, so once I've used that to compile the new layout, then I have to flash that onto the board. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
So I guess from here we can install Sublime Text. I guess is what we can use, unless you have something better. Maybe VS Code. I don't know. Any thoughts on
that? Sublime is probably simpler. Huey, do you have a text editor you already use?
I use Notepad and Google Docs.
Okay. Notepad can work, but let's go ahead and download Sublime Text because it's a little nicer.
And monospacing.
Is Notepad++ an option?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Sublime Text. Okay. A sophisticated text editor. Cool. Let's go to the download link and let's get the Windows 64-bit version. And let's download that. Open it in 5 seconds once it is ready.
Hey, Gert Tractor, you want to take the space out from between util and MSys2 there.
Okay, that is
I think
finished.
All right. So far on the things we've needed to download, MSys2, Git, or not Git, but the QMK toolkit, or toolbox, and then some kind of advanced text editor. So you've had three main downloads so far, correct?
Yep.
All right.
And all the other downloads are happening inside MSys too. And so are you opening Sublime then?
Yeah, let's see. Sublime Text 3, opening up. And it is now open. It is
All right, so from
unregistered.
here,
Okay.
go to Project at the top, and then Add Folder to Project.
Add folder to projects.
And then we're gonna have to search for where QMK was downloaded.
In my C
It's gonna be,
drive.
yeah, I think C MSys. Yeah, MSys 64. Home. Your name, QMK, and that's select folder.
Okay.
There we go. Now we have all the QMK in the sidebar there, which makes it nice to navigate. If you're not doing stuff to the whole QMK system, you can also just pick your keymap file or keymap folder. It makes it a little easier to navigate, but this will give you some context for where the code you're editing lives in QMK.
Okay.
So I think we're still downloading. Looks like
Connecting to download SourceForge. Yep. It's going again.
Installing DFU programmer, so that's good. So from here, let's open up keyboards folder there.
Keyboards.
Yeah, hit the little arrow, and then find the clue board.
Looking for the clue board, and I have the 66 revision 3, and I have a few files here.
The revision 3 is where the keyboard files live. So we want to look under keymaps.
Ah, okay. So keymaps.
And then here we want to copy the default folder into a new keymap. Can we do this with Sublime? I'm not sure if we can. No. Let's open this up and the File Explorer as well. So just to home in where it's located. Yeah.
Was home. My name. Wait.
Yep.
Yes.
That's right.
And then where am I going next?
Keyboards, the same place you were going before.
Keyboards. Clueboard 66. Keymaps. Here is the default.
Okay. So we want to copy that and then paste it and rename it to, Huey or whatever you want to call it. Or man of interest, I guess. No, you can't have a space, unfortunately. It's not gonna work.
No spaces. Okay, that is a very important to know. So
usually we'll be doing. Probably can't do that either. The GitHub username you have, we're trying to get people to use that rather than like just their name. But yeah, you can for this or whatever. But that way, when you submit it back to QMK, your the keymap you upload will be your GitHub username, and that kind of makes it just a lot easier to see whose is whose and associate with them directly.
Okay. So I've made my folder, and I'm guessing I'm going to be copying the default stuff into here.
Well, it already copied it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just renamed it. Okay.
So it looks like in the MSys we need to hit A, I think. I think you have to type something here.
All either A, C, F, or N. All connected force or none. I want to install all drivers, I believe.
Yep.
A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A. Enter. Security thing popped up. Okay. Yes. QMK driver exe. Here's the magic exe. This can take a while. Do not close. Okay, I will not close you.
All right, so we have our keymap file, our keymap folder man of interest. Now back in Sublime, we can open that and see our keymap and our README.
At the README, okay.
And you can update that once you're done. Do that now. But the keymap.c is where we're going to be doing all of our modifications.
Wonderful. Okay, so it looks like here are all of the keys. 1, 2, 3, etc. QWERT, etc. There's
You're
a
probably going to
function
want to make
layer.
this bigger so you can see
Yes.
more.
Probably
There
not
you
that
go.
big, but let's. Yeah, looks good.
Cool.
Yeah. Probably don't need your file explorer open for it anymore, I imagine.
Yeah, we should be done with that.
Okay, so I said earlier, what if I wanted to change this page up and page down? I see it over here. So, what do I know are the key codes? Where can I find where all the key codes are if I wanted to change it?
Good question.
So go back to the documentation webpage.
On GitHub?
The docs.qmk.fm,
Okay.
where we had the install instructions.
Yes. I have that somewhere.
It's in the install build tools.
There it is. Under key codes, I believe, on the side, or is it a reference?
Key codes.
Key codes. Basic.
Go ahead and just click on the key codes actual. That'll give you a nice overview page here. It should.
It's taking its time. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
So this is a overview of all the key codes. Like everything is here. Some of them need more detailed information to actually use them, and usually you can click on those to get that more detailed information.
Okay.
And a lot of these are usually pretty obvious, but some have like little special names that you kind of need to pay attention to.
Or in some cases, like media keys particularly, there might be two options because over the years, it's like that XKCD comic about standards.
There are now 9 competing standards.
Yes, there's a few competing standards on media keys, a couple other things.
Okay, let's choose something completely random. Well, I mean, I have RGBs on this board, so let's go to RGB lighting. And let's do increase and decrease my brightness then for that page up and page down key for now to try it out. So I'm going back to the QMK firmware on Sublime Text. I'm finding where it's saying KC page up, KC page down. I'm just changing those into what the key is on the on this listing, right?
Yep.
So
do you want to make the text in your Sublime bigger? I think you could just control and scroll.
Oh yes, there we go. This is
a little easier to see.
So I believe it is VIA and VAI and VAD.
Looks like you have to change the KC to RGB though.
Yes, you are right. And this is RGB. So change both of those.
Okay.
And you know what? For the sake of it, something that would be super obvious to tell, even more obvious still. Actually, for now that'd be fine. It should register on the toolbox when I do it, when the keyboard's plugged in, so I will know for sure when that happens. Instead of physically looking at my board.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, so let's say this is the change I want to make for now. What do I do next now that I've edited my keymap.c in my own man of interests layout folder?
So save the file here.
Is it Control S? Yes, it is. Okay, cool.
And then go over to your MSys2 window.
Back over to MSys2. Which do I want to install the AVR toolchain?
Yep.
Yes.
This shouldn't take too long to install, I don't think. But this is basically what's compiling your keymap AVR. Once this is installed, I think you can open another window and we can start actually working on it.
When this gets done, it will also ask you if you want to install the ARM tools. Um, for most keyboards that people are going to be doing right now, you don't need to install the ARM tools, only the AVR tools. But if you have something like the Ergodox Infinity or any of the Input Club boards, you'll need that, and some boards in the future, like the Clueboard 60.
Yeah, let's
But
go ahead and
for-
do that because I think you have. Do you have some input club boards? Here?
I do. I have a K type. So why?
All right, yeah.
Why not? Yes. Oops, that's an F. I'm using Dvorak. I can't trust my apps.
I know that feeling.
Okay. So while that is going, each have a minute 40. Is there anything else that Brian and I or anyone who's watching should use to start off as to help out? It looks like there's the three main downloads in the program. There looks like there's a few things we've also had to download through MSys. A few things we had to put in where it would download for us. Brian, do you have a list of those, perchance?
What was that? Sorry, what were you
The
asking me?
things that we've had to download through MSys.
Through MSys? There's been like a bazillion things through MSys.
I know. Well, the main things we've typed in too.
It's been Git and then just running. We downloaded QMK and then just running the command for installing everything automatically.
Yeah.
And Git is actually installed with that command, but we need Git in order to get the QMK firmware. So
Okay.
it's a little confusing.
Yeah, that's a part of the story I think we need to do some thinking on and improve a bit.
Yeah, because there's definitely a decision to be made there whether they should use Git and kind of venture into that world or just download the zip and go from there. So, well, it'd be nice to give them the option. Right now, we're not.
Someone actually has a pretty decent question, I think, while we wait for this to finish last 10 seconds. Are there any tricks to formatting the layout other than just adding spaces until it looks organized?
Not
So
yet.
I like to use this is some people have a hard time understanding this because they haven't figured out the best way to describe it. But essentially, I think of each key as being 8 characters wide, or in this case, they're all 7 characters wide. But 8 makes it really nice for lining up based upon the width of a key. So here you can see I've kind of taken my staggered layout and forced it into an ortholinear layout. But you can still see everything kind of lines up okay because everything is 7 columns wide. So there where the KCQ is and the KC1 is, there's spaces afterwards because the actual key name is only 4 characters wide. And so that way you can kind of line things up that way and tell how they work. And then wider keys can have a wider spot in there and everything all kind of lines up nicely. I don't know if that made any sense at all or not.
Everything's been going over my head pretty hard. But that was to be expected.
Back in MSys, I think we need to finish another prompt.
Yes, it's asking me something. Just so typically, I think the thing about
yeah.
Oops.
You actually need to type Y there, yeah.
There's my Y key. There's my Y key. Installation
All right.
complete. Please close this window and restart MSys 2. Min GW. So I will be doing that, I believe.
Yep.
Closing. Okay, I've started up MSys 2 again.
And we
Cool.
can CD back into QMK.
Was CD was
QMK.
Just
And then
type in
here-
just type tab right now.
Yeah.
No, sorry. CD QMK tab.
Oh,
Tab
that's-
again.
There's more than one, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I
So
forgot
yeah,
I saw that folder.
type the F and then tab again. There you go.
Okay.
That's a shell feature, by the way, called tab completion. If you do too much work in a terminal like this, it becomes a godsend.
Hmm.
Okay.
From here, we just need to build the keyboard now, or build keyboard.exe. So type in make and then space Clueboard /66 / rev3 and colon, and then man of interest here, your keymap name. So what we're doing here to break this down is we have specified our keyboard name. In this case, it's Clueboard 66 rev3, and each of those are different folders. The colon separates the keyboard from the key map, and if you press enter right now, it will actually build the firmware for your keyboard.
Ooh, things are
You
okay.
gotta-
I like that.
You got a warning about something not being installed, which is fine for now. But if you build ARM boards, you would need to install that.
Okay.
And it's just there's a command that tells you to run, and you run it, and it downloads more stuff.
Make git
Yeah.
submodule. Well, I don't like warnings, so I guess we can also do that.
Earlier, one of your MSys lines was "everything is okay," and that was the only thing I've understood out of any of this so far.
If you say so, MSys, I believe you.
Clearly, MSys knows a lot more than I do.
So it looks like it's good. I see it is checking file size of Clueboard 66 rev3 man of interest.hex. So I assume it's made a hex file somewhere.
Yep, right in that folder.
Right in that folder. So if I go
So or the top QMK folder.
QMK, and then if I look down, there should be, what do they call it, man of interests?
Yeah, look
Uh,
at Clueboard
Clueboard.
66
Clueboard
rev3.
first. I
There
see.
we are.
Here we go. So I
And
want
you
to
should
go
be able to. You can drag that into the toolbox. I think I have that enabled.
Yes.
That works too. Yeah.
So now do I hit open, or do I go to the DFU mode?
Flash.
The flash. mode
Yeah,
first?
put it into DFU mode and hit flash. You can also turn on auto flash, which is kind of a nice feature. If you're doing a lot of work, you just hit the DFU button and it'll detect when it pops up and flash it automatically.
Oh, nice.
Well, I'm just gonna push the button on the bottom of the board. I think that'll do the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, DFU device connected. Now I'm hitting open.
No, flash.
Flash first.
Opens like just like
Just
file
to change
menu.
it. Okay.
Yep.
So now that's been selected. Flashing it, and that's gonna be flashing the man of interests.hex.
Yep. There you go. And it's done. Now we can test it out. Make sure that everything worked.
Yep, my LEDs are getting dimmer
Nice.
and now brighter. And you guys can all see in the toolbox as well.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh my! All right.
So it seems like for people like Brian and I, where for the most part, the most functionality that we will want is going into something like Sublime, after having everything set up, would be having everything in Sublime text, using the make command in MSys, and then using the QMK toolbox to change our layout. I think that's going to be the 99% use case scenario for someone like Brian and I, right?
Yeah.
Now that you're here, yes, that's what you're gonna do.
That's awesome. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, it seems like just setting up the environment is probably the hardest part,
Yeah.
and then
there's a lot
from
of
there,
pitfalls there.
then it seems relatively simple after that for just changing keys at random and stuff.
Scully, did you want to talk about flashing from the terminal? Because that should be set up now too, I think.
Yeah, if that just works. So if you go back to your MSys2 and you press the up arrow and you add a : DFU, when you press enter here, it will attempt to flash it for you automatically.
Let's try that out.
So now that you've done this, press the reset button.
Well, you can actually wait, and you can see what it'll do. It'll wait for you to press it, which is kind of nice.
Bootloader
So
not
here, this
found.
little...
Try again in 5 seconds. So I should probably be pressing the button.
Yep.
Otherwise, it'll keep telling me every 5 seconds.
But if you want to get out of this, you can hit Control C, and it'll exit out of that loop, because it'll do that.
Make finished with errors. Error 1.
It might be okay.
It looks like it flashed. I can't read those bottom lines.
The bottom lines. This is validating success.
We might just have the return codes.
Error 127.
Because when it said bootloader not found, I think that's considered as an error, and so when it ends up returning from that command,
on the toolbox though, it is working as intended.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So it seems like for most people, just setting everything up is the hardest part. Probably the part that most people would love the most detailed bit by bit on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should consider doing like an actual step-by-step video guide.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this stream is obviously really awesome and really informative, but like I've mentioned before, I think like sitting down and doing like a really like super focused video or video series on how to do everything is probably the most helpful for other people as well.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because after this, we're going to be uploading the VOD, but by Sunday I was hoping to have an edited version of this, and I was thinking we could probably turn the snips of this into what Brian is talking about. Because all the steps are in this video. It's just there's space in between of things installing. We don't have, fancy text prompts on the bottom of what step we're on and stuff like that.
Right.
This is all I can add.
Yeah, a little list.
I can add
check off things. Yeah.
So a good question Mel did ask, which I think a lot of people will be wondering, even Brian and I, is how do you handle PCBs that have a shit ton of possible layouts? Like the DZ60, supports both 2U shift and the 2.25 shift, so that means you have different bottom rows, different third rows. How is that handled in, for example, the text editor?
So the Clueboard actually has a couple different layouts, right?
Actually, no. The Clueboard right now just has one layout.
Oh,
sorry. all the switches you see up there are every single possible switch location. So your board, for example, that just has like the 2U backspace and the 2U shifts, you still have slots in there for the split shifts and for the split backspace.
Okay.
So, and those spots just don't do anything. So that's one approach, is just throw it all in there, and the keys that work are the keys that work. But we also, if you look here where you see the _BL equals keymap part, we can actually support more than one keymap macro there. And this is an older style. We actually have called that layout now. So you might have a layout _ANSI, a layout _ISO, a layout, ANSI split shift, a layout ISO split shift, however many different variations the keyboard maintainer or the community want to support. So maybe if we take a look at another board that has that set up.
Yeah, so to look for. I know we have one for the Planck and the Prionic. I'm trying to try to find a keymap that uses it though. There are that many that do.
So
yeah.
Well, actually, I think another big thing is, so here I have all these different boards, but what if I have actually probably all the boards are on the main fork, huh? I was say, like, what if my Viper? I know that was added recently, but I think it is in here.
Yeah, it's under Eagle.
It's under Eagle. Oh yeah, same PCB.
Yeah.
We
kind of had
Viper.
A debate on how to name that, because it's people are gonna look for Viper and they can't find it. Yeah, so you look at eagleviper.h there. I think that's where it is. It might be v2.h.
Well, I'm gonna look at the Mech Merlin layout with the copyright and his email. What a wonderful guy. So it looks like he has some all blank ones, but I believe the Eagle supports both yeah, it supports both win keyless and non-win keyless.
Can you go to the .h file there? So there's in the folder above that, in the v2 folder, there's a v2.h.
v2.h.
So that's where the layout, this is what we're calling a layout, is defined. And this kind of maps like where the things are physically to where they are in the matrix of the keyboard, which aren't always the same. So keyboards like mine and Scully's, I think, are usually pretty obvious in that they're all like kind of laid out like that. But keyboards like the Ergodox or keyboards that do like clever stuff with how the matrix is arranged, like, are going to have really complicated associations here. And it's not really
take a look at the. Yeah, go ahead and open up the DZ60. Actually, that's a good one to.
Okay.
That's got a few different key maps in it.
So should I be looking at the H for all the layouts?
Yeah.
Okay.
So see how there we have keymap and
HHKB, true HHKB, 2 shifts, which I'm guessing is 2 U shifts, not. Well, I assumed it'd have 2 different shifts. Directional with directional keys. So you would basically be if I was gonna make one with the 2 shift, I never would in real life, but if I was, I'd basically just copy and paste this into the define for my .c file and then fill it out as I would like.
You'd actually just change the keymap to keymap 2 shifts, and then you just make sure that it had the right number of keys for that layout.
Well, one quick way to do that would be to copy like right after the define there, where the word keymap starts. So copy from there all the way down to the first closed parenthesis. So yeah, right there, that would be what you could copy into your keymap. And then you have to go through and change every variable there to an actual key code. But yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Saves a lot of time, so you don't have to figure out because there are a lot of errors that people have. They'll try compiling with the wrong number of key codes in that particular layout, and then you'll get an error saying an initialize array error or something like that. And it's really confusing because it doesn't show you exactly where the error is. It's just like, oh, you messed something up. Please go fix it. So and that happens with missing commas too, which is pretty annoying.
That is very good to know. So is there anything else you two think someone who's learning it at a very basic level like Brian and I should also know in case of any issues or in case of needing to change our layout?
I think we've covered most of the basics. The big thing I think is where to get more help here when you get stuck and you don't know where to turn. So we do actively use the GitHub issues system, and people can and do open up issues asking for help, trying to figure out what they're doing wrong. And that's where if you have your keymap and you've uploaded it to GitHub, being able to reference that helps other people figure out what you're doing. It gives them a way to download your code so they can try it on their computer, see if it works for them, that sort of thing. We also have there's a chat system called Gitter, Gitter, and there's a link to our Gitter chat room from I think we have it on QMK.fm, but it's also on our GitHub page.
No, that's the docs page. I think it's on there too, though.
If not, we should put it somewhere on there.
Maybe the top bar or something. You're not going to see it on this page. I think you have to go either to the main page.
Yeah, go back to QMK.fm here.
It's one of the tabs that was open, I think.
This works.
Yeah.
And then if you see chat on Gitter there on the left.
Chat on a Gitter.
And you already have a GitHub account, so we can use that to sign in. And then to sign in to start talking. And it'll authorize it. And there you go. Just join it, and you can see all the chat we have, and we're pretty active on there. There's a couple different rooms. for the different. But we have specialized ones. So if you have problems with the toolbox, you can go to that room, or the configurator, or the compiler. We have a newly added hardware one that we're starting to explore. I'm not sure there's 2 compiler API ones.
I'm not sure. That's a little weird. Oh, that would be why.
Delete that. It's funny. I'll do that now.
Oh, that's the compiler API.
Yeah. A little different. Do you want to walk through how to upload to GitHub, or how to commit and get that? We can briefly run over that.
Yeah, I think maybe submitting to GitHub, for example, Brian's thought of this most amazing layout in the world. Brian's like, guys, you should have your numbers from Z to question mark and move your QWERTY layout up. Brian's like, I want to share this to the world. How does Brian or I put that on GitHub for people to download, to explore?
So I think we're going to take a very naive approach to this here. GitHub is very complex, but there are some, I hesitate to say magic, but some magic indentations that you can use in order to accomplish certain tasks. And if you need to do more than that, or if those break in some way, we're right there on Gitter to help you walk through that. So go back over to your MSys2 window. So the first thing to do is to type out git space status.
This is like your fallback command. If something's weird or wonky, you can always type this to figure out where things are with Git.
Yeah. So this kind of tells you what the current state is, how it differs from what's been uploaded.
So your branch is up to date with origin/master.
Yep. But that red file there, that's something that Git says, hey, I don't know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call an untracked file. So go ahead and type in git add, or git space add, yeah. And then put a space there and copy and paste that the red text. And if you do git status again, now it's green because this is what we're going to add. And then we need to save it. So you commit it, git commit. And
so we need, yeah.
Okay.
Tell me who I am.
Yeah. So run those 2 commands with replacing things with what you want.
And if it helps with your email here, use the same email you use for GitHub. I should have thought of that earlier when we had you sign up. But
all right, I'm just going to.
yeah,
You want
so
user.email there.
Yeah, before the email.
Oh.
And you can need quotes too. Otherwise, they'll try to interpret the @ sign.
Does Windows interpret the @?
It might. I don't know.
So I'm going to git config global user dot name man of interests. I am my email, I am my username, and now I can just do the git commit then.
Yep.
Almost. Well, you need. It'll well, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll ask you for a message in Nano.
Please enter the commit message for your change.
I'm sorry. This is actually in VI.
Okay, so this is extra painful.
Yeah. Type I.
I.
And now you can type in your message.
I guess this is good to have because I can see people doing this and by accident. You're gonna want it on the first line. Did you hit enter there?
I did hit enter there.
Yeah, you get on the first line.
Now press escape. and type :WQ.
Enter. There you go.
And
now it's
we've
committed.
saved that.
Now,
Now,
usually with that message there, you're going to want to put like what changes you made, because it's basically telling us like, okay, this is what I updated. Like a good commit would be like added man of interest keymap for Clueboards 66 for F3 or something like that. But it's, you already did that, so it's fine.
Okay.
So next time you run git commit, it's much nicer if you, in fact, go ahead and just press the up arrow right now, and hit a space. -M.
-M.
And then in quotes your message.
You know, the space there before the quote.
It doesn't matter in Git.
Oh, it doesn't? Nice.
Yeah. So that's how we can avoid the VI pain in the future.
Ah. Okay.
But of course, there's nothing to commit right now.
Yes.
So now we've saved it locally to Git, and we want to push it to GitHub. So run git push.
I think you need origin master too, or does it? No.
That will grab that by default.
Okay.
So type in your username and your password
I
here.
didn't even type my username right. Man of interest. Okay, let's just try it again.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily it doesn't show either. There you go. So now if we go back to github.com/man of interest/QMK_firmware, which I think we already have open.
Yes. So I
And
guess I didn't
refresh.
refresh the page, and now
There you go. If you look right there at the very top where it says man of interest, you can see your commit. That's what we just pushed up. The blue, light blue box kind of down below.
The very first file entry.
oh,
Yeah.
here it is. Maybe just hi there, friends. Latest
There we go.
commit 3 minutes ago. Okay. So click that.
So-
and take me to.
Yeah, this is the commit that you added. There's the files that you added. So from here, we can actually create a pull request for this this key map. If we go back to code at the top, and then hit compare right there. Down. Right below clone/download. Yeah, that works too.
When in doubt.
And so compares where it is with on where we have it on master with what changes you've made here, and you can see you can preview everything that you're going to add to the pull request before you make it, which is kind of nice to make sure you're kind of a sanity check. And just hit create pull request, and you'll be prompted with a title and a comment for it. And then give it. Oh, okay, hold on.
I just went for it.
Usually you want to give it a reasonable name just so that we see it and we can kind of instantly tell, okay, this is a keymap ad, and also there is that box. Can you hit it back real quick? I think it'll still show it. Dang it. Sorry. No.
Yeah, just hit forward there, and
1 second.
All right. Anyway, yeah, usually you want to show like, or click the allow maintainers to edit it, which is a lot easier for us to, because we can go in and actually edit the commit you have there. That way we don't have to keep asking you to like, okay, you can make this change, you can make this change. We can just go in and fix things, which is kind of nice.
especially for things like this where it can be frustrating to get the change right if you don't know how to put it in.
Okay.
I am back.
Welcome back.
My family is wondering what I am doing because Giorgio keeps bothering everyone else in my family right now instead of bothering me. So what did I miss?
Just on that last page, we were saying that you want to keep the allow maintainers to edit checkbox checked, so that we can come in and fix things if need be.
Okay.
That we don't have to ask you to do it, because otherwise it gets kind of annoying.
So there's an edit box to the right of Hi There Friends that lets you edit the title if you get impulsive and type in a little too quickly.
Good question.
It's pretty good. There you go. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'd merge that.
I'd merge that so hard, man. Oh my god.
Usually we try to be pretty quick about merging stuff that, especially keymap stuff, because there's hardly ever any issues with them. But sometimes it takes me or Scully a day or two just to kind of get around to it, and sometimes a week, depending on how busy we are. So, yeah. You're one of the 36 pull requests on there. If you go back to pull requests, you can see what everyone else is up to as well.
What is everyone else up to? Let's find out. Dvorak. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Ergodox easy with Mac and German settings.
Yeah, some of these are pretty old, and they some of them kind of stagnate, because we'll go in there and ask like, oh, can you make this change or something, and then we won't hear back for a while, and then you have to go back and forth, because I'm sure whoever makes it is just as busy as we are, for sure. But yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's quite a few issues right now too. There's a lot of weeding that needs to be done with that to get that down. Yeah. Let's see, what else is there. I guess we could. Do you want to do any problems that people? I don't know if people are setting this up now and doing this themselves, but are people running into any issues that we could try to address now?
Yeah, we could basically just move to a Q&A segment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been getting questions randomly along the way, but I think just having kind of a Q&A or troubleshooting thing towards the end of this is probably a good idea.
So if you're in chat, you've been following along, you have any questions of what we've been going over, or maybe you've fallen behind and maybe want a little push to head to where I am in the stream, feel free to ask questions. Tag at TopClack in chat, so it'll be easiest for Brian to see and read your question aloud. Feel free to ask anything we've learned today, or I guess since Jack and Zach are here, anything about QMK, because they're probably the best people to ask.
Or Clueboard or OLKB too. I guess.
Oh boy, this is gonna be fun for me. This is gonna be extra fun for me because I'm using blanks. I'm using blanks on a layout that I've never used. I don't even know what most of these buttons do. So, like, even just typing in commands is gonna be absolutely hysterical for me. It's gonna take me a very long time.
Well, Brian, once you have your text editor and all the folders, everything in, you can just look at what the default mapping is, and you figure it out from there.
What do you have? How far are you with the setup? Do you get everything installed and everything?
Me?
Yeah.
I've installed MSys.
Okay.
And I think I downloaded the QMK toolbar too. I've been trying to keep up and I don't know. I'm really bad at multitasking, so let's try to learn as I go. I can't really do that and install stuff from behind because I'm just bad at life.
I know I personally like to watch and then do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Once we're done with this, I'm probably gonna go through step by step again and just do what I can. I don't want to submit people on stream to watching me attempt to enter codes on a blank keyboard that I have no idea what half the keys even do to begin with.
Well, I was gonna say, the periodic has sounds and stuff too, so we could mess around with that, and you could write your own little custom song. It'd be kind of fun. But
that's what I wanted to do for a new TopClack intro in the future. The Over actually has a good question though. I want to use QMK in Linux. Would this run through VMware on my Linux virtual machine?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's installation instructions for Linux. I'm assuming it's probably Ubuntu VirtualBox. Those are pretty popular, but we have Ubuntu like the apt-get installation instructions. I think it's
And
pretty
just to
solid.
clarify, if you are running Linux on your actual computer, you don't have to install a VM and do this all in Windows. You can do this directly on Linux.
Yeah. We try to make it as easy as possible in any operating system. Obviously, if you're more comfortable with one, it makes sense to do it from that. But you, with any operating system, with any setup, you should be able to install and compile and flash everything. And the toolbox is compatible with Mac and Windows as well. Not Linux, unfortunately. I don't have any experience with developing Linux apps, so kind of short there.
Fairman's Twitch is asking, how do you both of you feel about kbfirmware.com?
It's kind of awkward sometimes because it is running a very old version of QMK. I think, I don't know, it's at least 6 months old now, maybe closer to 8 or 9. And so it's kind of missing out on a lot of the features that we've worked on and added to it, along with a lot of the keyboard support. Because like the one hard thing that we have, I think, the most trouble with is that you have to like basically make this a JSON file for another keyboard, and load it onto the site, and that's the only place it's used. Like it's not used in QMK at all. It's only used in the kbfirmware.com, and so that makes it hard for us to like keep up with what's happening with that keyboard and make fixes if there's something's messed up or something. Whereas within QMK, we have like hundreds of keyboards here, but we can if we know that something's wrong, we can make a pull request to fix it. We can talk within the GitHub to kind of see like, oh, I know this person has this keyboard. Can you test this real quick? I made a fix here. See if this fixes the your LED issue or your modifier issue or whatever is going on. And that makes it a lot easier for us to, as a community, like maintain these keyboards. Whereas kb.fm, kbfirmware.com, that's all maintained by Rookie, which is great. He's done a lot of work for making that GUI like accessible and like for the keyboards that it supports, it's awesome. But we want to see a solution that kind of feeds back into the community and isn't so isolated. And so that's why we're kind of working towards like the QMK compiler API, which allows any GUI to access the endpoints to compile the firmware that is always up to date. And so you pass it keymap information, and it'll basically pass back a .hex. And so it takes care of all the compiling and everything. And that's something we'd like to see other GUIs use it. Right now, the only GUI that uses it is ours, which is kind of like in an alpha beta stage right now. That's something we could check out too, if you wanted to, because I think both the keyboards you guys have they're supported in that interface as well. It's very early, so I don't want to like go showboating with the features because they're going to change and they're going to be refined and everything. But that'd give you an experience to see like there are better things coming for this sort of experience, I guess.
That's good to hear. I do want to go through some of the other questions.
Yeah.
Could we get a text equivalent of the stream tutorial on the documentation, please? Like, quote, I want to achieve these simple things, end quote. Then a walkthrough step by step on a single web page on how to get there. That would make it really easy to get to grips with, I think. There is some assumed knowledge on currently getting started IMO. And Gertractor, I
Definitely.
highly agree. Brian highly agrees.
Yep.
Even throughout the stream, there's a lot of things where we have to say, this is a magic box. These are magic incantations.
Yeah.
This is a quote unquote keyboard exe, and this is just how it goes. Like I said, after the stream, I'm gonna have the VOD up for people who want to see the whole thing. By Sunday, I'll actually have a cut down version of this video with text instructions on screen as well as the script for it. And then Brian and I together with hopefully Jack and Zach will also make a version that we'll have on topclack.com that we could share with them over at QMK as well. That basically covers what we've done today.
And I have been I have been taking notes here, so documentation improvements are coming based upon tonight's experience.
And that's something that I would like to see in general, just having a more oriented towards X person guide. Like if you know what you're doing, here's like the three commands you probably already know. Or like here's like, have you touched a computer before? Okay, here's the command you run. Like, oh, I don't know what a computer is. That's sort of like deviation to where we can figure out like how advanced the instructions could be. But also, I wanted to get Scully's thoughts on the KB firmware. Did you have any more to add to that? Because Scully is actually the one that wrote the backend for that.
Yeah, I don't have any specific thoughts on KB firmware. I mean, it's fine for what it is. It causes us some confusion, which, I mean, honestly, it just highlights to us some of the things that we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't notice one of the things that I ran into a lot when I've attempted to use things like QMK and TMK in the past is a lot of the written guides that I was coming across definitely had a lot of assumed knowledge.
Oh, so much.
And I really need like an explain it like I'm 5 tutorial for a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's all this terminology, git and fork and like, all this stuff that I'm like just learning today that a lot of people probably will struggle with because, when you're, I mean, I'm not saying you guys aren't necessarily doing a good job, but when you have the level of knowledge that you guys have, sometimes you forget what it's like to like be so inexperienced at something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like it's really hard for you guys to digress to that, or all these people that are writing all these articles. It's really hard for them to digress to that stage in their experience.
Right.
So it's hard for us to soak up anything because there's just so many assumptions already.
And especially for us, it's a challenge because we want to enable people who have that level of knowledge to be successful, but we also want to give them on-ramps and kind of nudges and say, hey, this thing is happening over here, but if you don't need to know about it, but if you want to learn more, you can. And we want to make sure that people know that they can and give them the ability to do that. So we're trying to walk this, how do we teach people without overwhelming them sort of thing.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, we do have a couple more questions. Melodid is asking, so we were looking through the dz60.h file before, and the keymap was using different names, things like K000, etc. Are these just different names for the key functions?
Those are arbitrary. Sorry, go ahead, Sally.
I was going to say, yeah, that's essentially what I was going to say. Those are just labels so that you can map a position above to a position below. So if you go ahead and open up the Clueboard equivalent, if you go into the Clueboard directory.
Clueboard.
And then open up the rev3/rev3.h.
66.h.
No,
rev3. H. Here we go.
Yeah. So if you take a look here, scroll down just a little bit more, you'll notice that the above and the below look very different. If you go back over to the DZ60 for just a second, you have just the other tab there.
No.
No,
this is mine.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was wrong there.
Double click on rev3.h. Double click on the actual file in the browser. That like makes it open, and it keeps it open. When it's not italicized, it stays open, and then you can go back to the DZ60 file, and you can open them both at the same time.
Okay.
So by default, it like any file you open will close automatically if you don't make changes to it or if you don't double click.
Okay, so if I go to D60H. Oh, okay, and I start a new one at top. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So if you look here, you'll notice that the arguments in each one, the K00 in the keymap HHKB versus the K000 just below that in the same keymap HHKB, and you kind of go one to one, you'll see they correspond. Because in that one, the matrix, the physical wiring matrix of the keyboard, is in the same order as it's in a very straightforward order. But if you look at the Clueboard, you'll see that there's actually the second half is 10 lines instead of 5 lines, and each line is half the number of keys. That's because the second half here corresponds to the physical matrix, the way the wires are actually laid out on the PCB, and the first half references the physical keyboard layout, the way the switches are actually arranged. From here I guess it's just basically the way to map the physical arrangement of keys to the physical wiring of keys.
There's lots of reasons to do that too. It's not just to make it more complicated. Like by doing this arrangement that Scully has here, you're saving I think at least one pin on the MCU, right?
I actually saved 3 pins, and it's what allowed me to have so many controllable LEDs in my keyboard.
Nice.
But yeah, basically that's what those are for. Those are just arbitrary values that we use in order to make this mapping between the physical layout and the physical wiring, since they may not be the same.
Gotcha. All right, HHKB for Life asks a question that's probably on a lot of people's minds. Do you see this process getting more GUI driven anytime soon?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. I mean, with the configurator we're working on, we have some other community members collaborating with us and contributing towards that. And, we want to make that the configurator, the place to do this if you don't know how to or don't want to get into the code aspect of it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to make a GUI app but doesn't have any idea how to do the back-end part, the compiling part, we have a service for that now that we're building out.
Yeah, that's what we call the compiler, and it's pretty easy to get that running. And the demo page I set up, which is now the configurator, I put that together in like a day just to test it out and just to kind of show people that it's really easy to set up with just like JavaScript or jQuery or whatever you want to use.
So a question for me then on the same kind of context is there an estimated time you think we might be seeing like a full QMK GUI that is like fully working?
Well, do you want to check out the one we have now?
Yeah.
If we're willing to
It's
share it.
config.qmk.fm. Scrambling at like hundreds of hits on it now. So this is basically what we have, and if you go to keyboard right there at the top, you can select any keyboard we have in QMK. A lot of them won't display like 100% correctly. I think the Clueboard will, and so it looks pretty decent. But there's a lot of other ones that will just be kind of a scrambled mess. And the reason for that is that we're like automatically generating what you're seeing here, the layout. And so in order to get past that, we're having to manually generate this layout aspect, and we just haven't done it for all the keyboards yet. So if you're willing to help that, like if you have a keyboard that isn't supported on here, you can help submit a pull request or ask us in the chat on how to get that supported. And it's really as easy as like setting up a KLE link, which is like where things are physically located, and importing that into QMK with the converter that we built for this. So yeah,
this looks pretty simple. I like where this is heading.
Yeah,
So,
one of the next features I'm going to be adding is pulling in the various key maps. So you'll be able to say, the X key map for the Clueboard is just perfect for me, except for there's just like the one thing I want to change. And you'll be able to pull that in and just change your one little thing and compile straight from here.
mm-hmm.
But we haven't, that's, the next feature to add.
So if you're some sort of crazy person that only wants escape and 5 keys in your keyboard, you can hit compile right now, and it'll compile this layout. It'll send it to the server. It'll run for a little bit, and then it'll output the whole command. You can download the hex.
Ooh, and then from the hex,
Okay.
with the hex, I can just use the toolbox to just.
Yeah, you want to try it, and it's gonna be, dumb, but it's a good demo.
Heck yeah! Open.
So in
QMK.
theory, does this actually work right now?
Oh yeah.
It works most of the time. Sometimes it breaks.
To open in QMK Toolbox, that's something we're trying to work out, because we have a custom protocol that is like QMK : and then the URL, which should automatically open it there, but it doesn't always work. So that's one aspect we're working on. So yeah, save that as whatever you want. It's good. It's good name. There you go. I think I gotta put it in DFU mode.
See, yeah, that's the kind of ridiculous easy compatibility that I need.
Oh yeah.
I just need
Yeah,
to drag
that's-
drag and drop my keys to whatever I want, and then just flash it in like less than a minute. Like,
Yep.
that's
We're-
so
we're-
attractive to me.
We're working
Yeah.
towards that, but it's going to be a long time before that can match the long-term benefits of what we just went through of cloning your own and being able to push and then being able to do a pull request.
Yeah, but that's definitely in the future. If we can make, whether that's through the toolbox or through the configurator, being able to like share key maps and push them back up to QMK, and just kind of like enrich the community aspect of like building and sharing key maps. I mean, that's what one of our huge goals with that.
Well, I can confirm. I can only type those keys.
So from here, you can reload, hit the load button there, and you reload the default. Or if you want to reload the file you compiled locally, you can do that too.
That keeps track of
That is-
different
that
ones.
is handy.
So I can just go back to man of interests here.
Yep.
And then go back to the DFU mode by pushing this little button.
And you should be careful with flashing layouts that you like are random or whatever. Is that not all keyboards have a physical reset button? So it might be complicated to get it back in flashing mode if you don't have that
makes
figured
a lot
out.
of sense. I mean, we
Yep.
used to we talked to Hata, designer of K-Type, quite a bit, and in his honest opinion, he says any programmable PCB without a physical reset button is a failure in design.
And now that makes so much sense.
Now I
I
understand.
would find myself agreeing with that.
Fantastic. So, I guess this for people like Huey and I often who really don't program anything quote unquote wild with our keyboards. It's like we use very basic default stuff. We'll change a couple keys around, whatever. This is probably the best way to go about that then, since we're not doing anything crazy fancy. We just want to change a couple keys around. We go to QMK or config.qmk.fm, and we can pretty easily just.
It is hard to like you got to drag in every single key, and not every single key is supported yet, nor are like enabling or disabling features. But those are obviously things that are on our timeline. Hopefully,
But as far as basic layouts go, people that aren't doing anything really out of the ordinary, this seems like a pretty good solution so far.
If you look at how these are loading, they're just kind of all scrunched together. And that's because it's loading what it sees as the layout in there. And it's just, sometimes it's dropping down, which is just like a CSS error. But
Yeah, basically nobody's taught it what those keyboards look like yet.
Okay.
There's a special file that you can check into QMK, and then all the configurator stuff will key off of that file. But with all of these that are just weirds because nobody's done that yet.
But there are a couple, like all the orthogonal ones, it just might work automatically. But I made mine set up, and then Scully's made his set up. I think we have MacMerlin's added a couple, but I think there are some errors and the ones he submitted. But
this stuff is all very new, so it breaks a lot still, and that's our only hesitation for recommending this right now.
Do you want? I guess we could walk through how to add one of these. Pick what's a keyboard that you know really well that's not supported here? Do you see any, Huey?
It's not supported here.
Yeah.
Eagle. I'll do
Prefer-
Eagle. I'll do Eagle
Okay,
Viper
yeah.
V2 because Mark has not put that in yet.
What
I
is?
think he did, but he didn't do it right. That's fine because we can fix it. So obviously they're not laying out correctly here. If you go to qmk.fm/converter in a new window, hopefully in a new window. Yeah.
qmk-fm.converter.
Yep. /converter. Sorry. I said dot, but. So from here, you can plug in your KLE raw, which I'm sure people are probably pretty familiar with. Go ahead and keyboardlayouteditor.com. We're going to mess around with the layout until we get something that looks like what an Eagle Viper is. And in order to do this correctly, I think we're going to need to open up the QMK firmware on GitHub.
The
Like
QMK on GitHub?
Yeah. Then go to the QMK firmware and keyboards, and then Eagle Viper. And then the eagleviper.h, I think, is where the thing is. Maybe it might be v2. No, it's in v2. So v2/v2.h. Now this is what we're going to try to emulate here. This keymap declaration.
This the under the define area.
Yep. And so if we have this, maybe open this in a new window so we can reference it, because the column counts are important here. You might want to make the text on that bigger too, so we can see it a little easier.
Come on, let me make it wider. Whatever, split it.
Yes. So obviously from the keymap declaration here, like, we don't know what it looks like. The configurator doesn't know what it looks like. You know, it's going to take some human to figure out, okay, this is where this key is. You know, this key is actually this big and everything. And so for those that are familiar with a keyboard like the Eagle Viper, you know, hopefully you can do this and make it look like how it's supposed to.
Hmm.
You can also hit shift arrow to make those bigger and smaller.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What did I forget? One
Move the
Your
space bar. Over.
Yeah.
is 7.
Just-
Oh, I didn't move it over. Duh.
And I think there's some split shift stuff happening here. Do you know if that's an option for Eagle Viper?
Just
Yes.
the right.
Okay, that looks well. Okay,
You can't do split left shift on that PCB.
it looks
I mean,
like
I
you
don't know
might
why
be.
you would, but
Well, we wouldn't, obviously, but
Opinions aside, is it possible?
Do you
Because it's
want
all about how it's defined.
HHKB backspace?
yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Yeah. So this kind of correlates to how, or whatever layouts we're supporting right now. So because this is the only one we're supporting, we're going to need to match this as it is. Like we can't do a 2U backspace right now. That's not to say it's not actually possible, because one of those keys of the split space is actually the middle space key. So if you just set both of them to backspace, like that'll be the equivalent of a 2U backspace. Obviously, we don't need to do that here, but then it looks like there might be a split enter too,
What?
or an ISO enter
It's,
maybe.
it's
I don't know.
ISO enter.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, I
But-
just realized do I not have a tilde on any? There has to be one on the default layer.
Actually, just shift escape is a tilde by default.
Ah. Nice.
That's one of the neat things about QMK that maybe I should have talked about. You can do things like grave escape here, which is what that key is. So if you, without any modifiers pressed, it's an escape key. But if any modifiers are held, it's a grave key.
But what if I want to do the tick then? Because I'm already holding shift.
Yeah, so function plus the tick.
So.
By the way, these don't have to be accurate.
Okay.
This isn't actually
Yeah.
associated with anything, so it's more just for, well,
Visual
I guess-
purposes, visual layout.
not even that. It's just your own satisfaction for these 5 minutes.
Good.
It's not going to be used.
Fair enough.
I think. Okay, so I have this is
Well-
this is one of the layouts that you can do. probably the most popular.
These labels do end up in the JSON, but we don't do anything with them. So I don't want to confuse that issue.
Yeah, because I don't know if have we decided whether we're gonna do anything with those yet. I don't remember if we have or not.
I don't think we have.
Okay. But yeah, so whatever you put there will be fine because we'll probably end up changing it anyway, or asking you to come back and fix it. But so I think it looks like if you look at how many keys are in the inner row, it looks like we have one less. We have 14 there. Is that my math right? Okay, there. I'm guessing it's 15 wide. The top row is 15. I'm just subtracting one, so I'm too lazy to count.
15 top row.
14 on that one, right? And we only have 13 on the middle row, so we need a split inner. I think is what that, or ISO inner, but I think that's how it's registered. Is it ISO maybe? I don't know, or maybe a split caps lock.
There's an option for a stepped caps, but I should register under the same.
It's the same. Yeah.
Okay. So it would probably be the ISO enter is my guess. So what would be the way I put that in? Just
need 2 keys. Yeah.
That's what I do on the clue board. Is I put in 2 different keys there. Actually, on the clue board, the enters are the same footprint, but there's the ISO key too.
Mm.
I don't know how to size these for the ISO enter and normal enter.
It's
1 and 125. Yeah.
It's kind of an awkward thing because you have like the thing that you are making isn't necessarily a full layout. You're making what's compatible with the complete layout in QMK, and so it takes all like the keys that are possible and shoves them into one.
Okay.
So it might not actually be a physically possible layout. You know, we might have like weird 1U keys everywhere just trying to like fill space basically. But that can change by adding more layouts to this file. So we could add a layout just called ISO.
Okay.
And have that be, you know.
In that regard, would it matter which one is 1 and which one is 1.25, for example?
Only in the sense that it might confuse people if you pick wrong.
Yeah.
This is all about other humans understanding. The computer doesn't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
For now, it's either we can do whatever, but we could, if we wanted to, I don't know if we have enough time for that, but we could actually add in a keymap for the Eagle Viper. I don't know, like standard 60 or whatever that would be. We could add that as well.
So let's try to add this. I've made this layout, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be helpful for the configurator.
We need the split left shift, I think, still, because that one
left shift.
Probably ISO shift there.
Shift and the something like that, yeah.
And then we also need the, I don't know if it's a split space or if it's a different spacebar configuration, but it looks like we have
ISO thing.
Unfortunately, that is valid. Is it split spacebar supported, or is it a different?
On Eagle Viper?
None of the plates are, so I'd be really surprised if there's just 2 spacebar positions. Sometimes they have the spacebar positions registered differently, but
right.
I don't.
But they would have. So. I think that one of the possible configurations is 4 keys or 1.25 unit keys.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like there's 5 keys to the left of or to the right of spacebar there. So, however that breaks down.
Yeah, and again, it's the part where it's arbitrary. You know, these aren't going to be actual layout. And this is where it is confusing. This is where you need to have multiple layouts, like the Clueboard does, and Clueboard does, other keyboards do. Like the DZ60, that'd be a good one to follow actually. Because I think it's the same setup. Probably
yeah.
I think the DZ60 is a little bit more because they have the arrow. Might be the same with the arrow keys. I think the shift would have another one for the DZ60.
Yeah. Probably try to wrap up this portion soon. Yeah. We still have a lot of questions in the chat.
Okay, so now we go to raw data down at the bottom. We just copy that to the converter page. Paste that in. hit convert, and then there you go. We can copy that, go back to the GitHub page where we have the, actually go on the right screen there.
Oh.
Yeah, and just hit Eagle Viper. And then hit create new file there at the top right.
We've already got an info.json there.
Back. My bad.
So back.
Yeah.
Cancel.
Yeah. Click on the info.json and then hit edit. And actually, before we paste that in, go back to the converter page and just copy the layout portion there. I'm sorry, go stay on the info.json page. And on the other window, we can go back to the converter page.
Oh. No, it's
one to the, yeah. Oh, nope, one to the right. So, and if you can select where the lowercase layout is.
The lowercase, this one?
The 2 lines down.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Copy that whole chunk there. Excluding
not all of it.
We'll just paste over the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be easier. Okay, just copy that, and then go back to the invitation. Yeah, hit the little pencil thing. Just edit this file, and then select a little farther down where it says layout, singular layout. Yep, paste it. Awesome. And now if you hit propose file change, and you can leave that blank, the default's fine. Now we can, so what this real quick before we keep going, this creates a branch on your fork called patch-1. It's not really important, but just so you now have a new fork or a new branch on your fork. And then we can hit create pull request just like we did before, and that will create a pull request and make the change. And Scully, are you able to merge it real quick? I'm not signed in, otherwise I can do it.
Yeah, I can merge that.
That way we can, because it'll literally update like as soon as you merge it, so we can demo it. But go ahead and hit create pull request, that green button on the right. Yeah.
Should enable this.
Update.
Eagle Viper v2 update. Leave a comment because Mark forgot at some point.
Yeah. We were bugging him about fix that. We shouldn't give him too much because he's done a couple other boards too. There you go. And now I think if Scully can merge it.
Yep, doing that now. All right, merge.
Watching the parents, or watching how when you're telling their parents how to use a computer. It's pretty good.
Well, it's important that you learn computers.
Yes.
Well, like, and you would know what to do too. It's just me like trying to do it through the Skype session here. It's I'm sure it adds complication. So for now, go back to the configurator, hit refresh. And it's almost there.
Almost there. something got messed up. That one key got relocated.
Yeah. It might not have got saved or something. There might be an error on our part too. We'll have to investigate that. But it's most of the way there. It's semi-accurate to what we just did in KLE, and possibly now can you could probably program it with that. I would hope at least.
I'm gonna try this out later. Because I'm planning on rebuilding my Duck Viper later, and this would be literally the best thing. Because in the past, for the Duck Viper, if I wanted to change my arrow keys, I have to change my system language to Korean.
Pretty bad start.
That's an interesting problem. When you were talking about that the other night, I was like, how does that actually happen? So I would like to investigate that and figure out like what's going on there.
All right. Is now a good time to maybe get back to some of these questions?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm going to skip your question, Adam, because it's a lot less relevant to this. Anchorbait is asking, how would one program a hand-wired board with a completely obscure layout?
So this is pretty easy now with QMK. A lot of it is just figuring out your actual physical matrix, which is obviously different from your keyboard setup. But once you have that figured out, and like if you write it down on a piece of paper or something, a good example of this, if you go to just go to the Eagle Viper folder or something and hit the config.h file, you might just hit back a couple times. So go to the Eagle Viper and then the V2 and then, oh, dang it, bad example. This is
Yeah.
So if try any other keyboard. I think just about every other keyboard has one. There you go. Config.h here. And this matrix row pins and matrix call pins, this is how you define which columns are using which pins. And so if you have that written down, like which ones you hooked up to a teensy or teensy++ or whatever you used, that just corresponds to what pins you use there. And there's graphics you can look up to see, like look at the Pro Micro and see which ones are which and convert them into like the letter number format that's here. And so that's how you get your basic matrix set up. And then from there, you have to map which actual keys go to what places in the matrix. And that's kind of what we were doing there. Looking at the .h folder or .h file, we have that keymap definition, like which just like Scully was talking about earlier, just decides where those keymaps are physically on the matrix. And that's a little hard to figure out, but if you have an idea of where your matrix is and which keys are hooked up to where, it makes it a little easier. And I think
we have
Sorry, go ahead.
we have a folder too called Handwired that's got dozens at this point of different handwired projects that people have done over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want examples to work off of, it's there, and you can see how other people have solved this problem as well.
And if you're more visual with it and having a hard time visualizing what's happening, kbfirmware.com actually does a really good job at this. It has a like a hand wiring diagram where you can draw where the wires went, and then if you're looking at the bottom of your keyboard and you can see like which columns go where, you can just follow that and just download the whole source for that, and then use that in the new QMK. You have to update some files and stuff, but if you have any issues with that, like we'll be happy to help walk you through, whatever problems you have and get up to date.
Cool. Misa Maka asks, can I use QMK on the Zeal 60 PCB like this, or do I need to use only their QMK version, or whatever it's called, with their tool for changing layouts?
So I got to talk to Will about that, because we want to get all his stuff he's worked on back into QMK, because the Plank Light actually uses the similar code, and so we're trying to come to like a conclusion on where like a middle ground is for a lot of that stuff. But I think we might end up using what Will has, just because it's easier. But they've done a lot of work with that, getting that set up, and it's something we'd like to see like applied to other boards too. But I think now for the time being, I think just using their fork is probably the best option. But we would like to, if you want to mention to them to help try to get it back in, that'd be awesome. But
all right,
so definitely willing to help and do whatever we can to get that back in.
Cool. All right, Gert Tractor is asking, is it possible to use QMK to make a keyboard act as some other kind of interface controller, such as MIDI or other API?
Yeah, so I'm big on MIDI stuff because I do a lot of music stuff as well. And so I kind of worked pretty early on to get that integrated into QMK. So we have MIDI support at a very basic level, but also a pretty advanced level where you can have any key just directly tied to any either note or any CC action. And I think there's like some sysx stuff you can do as well. And that can happen on a function basis where you hit a key and it runs like specific actions, or you can have it on a keymap level where your whole keymap is, MIDI keys or something. We also have support for some stenotyping interfaces, which I think use like virtual serial and some other stuff. I think we have like 2 different versions of that, which talk to like a steno app, and inputs that takes that sort of input and goes through there. So it doesn't use the normal key codes and stuff, which is is pretty cool actually. Was there any other examples? I got distracted by the MIDI example.
Hey,
We
yeah,
have mouse support as well.
Yeah.
Like not just mouse keys, but like pointing devices. Somebody recently added an API for generic pointing device support. So if you're a hardware hacker and you have some random touch screen or some random laser sensor or whatever you have that can detect motion, you can hook it up to QMK and make it work as a mouse that's integrated with your keyboard.
Yeah.
And that's something we actually want to see more of too. Some neat possibilities like press a button on your key that modifies your mouse's behavior. I understand there's some games that use that for you'd be able to hold down a key and your mouse sensitivity turns way down or way up so that you can run around very quickly looking around and then get very precise movements for your sniping.
Yeah, and using that like in game, not just like as a setting, but as an actual like key in the game is pretty cool.
Yeah, be able to basically change your sensitivity on the fly.
Yeah. And just QMK mice in general too. I think that's something I'm definitely interested in seeing. I wouldn't mind. I still use my Logitech M100. That's like what I've used for the past 5 years. I haven't been able to change since. So if somebody makes a QMK mouse, I would definitely be interested in buying that.
Mystery Knock is asking, QMK Toolbox doesn't detect Hasu's USB to USB converter, but Flip and QMK Flasher can flash it just fine. Is this a bug or is it just a problem on my end?
It can't detect it when it's in DFU mode, I'm assuming. If it uses a custom bootloader, we might not have the correct ID in there. But if the flasher detects it, it should be okay.
I think those use VUSB, and they may not. I don't know if they're using the Atmega 32U4 or if they're using something else.
It's probably an A.
But yeah, if it's an A, you might need to specify that in the toolbox, because the toolbox doesn't detect that automatically right now, but the flasher does.
Well, it should detect a lot of Atmel devices. Maybe it doesn't detect the 32A bootloader. If that's the case, that's a pretty easy fix. That's like literally just adding like whatever ID it is to like the lookup it has. So yeah, if you want to create an issue on QMK_toolbox GitHub, we can try to track it from there and get it fixed.
All right. Gerd Tracker is asking,
we showed you could do that.
Are there things in that GUI that can't be achieved that can be with the text programming option? I'm guessing yes.
This, especially the one we have right now, because this, if you want to scroll down on that page, we have a lot of key codes there, a lot of the special functions we have in there. We don't quite have them all enumerated yet because there's kind of like a UI issue, like we haven't figured out how to get that displayed very well yet, and just in a way that's kind of friendly to what happens. But yeah, there's like the escape grave thing is there. You missed a key, but but like a lot of those with the little gray boxes, this might change because this is stuff I was just messing around with. But you can either type in what layer you want to go to or drag in another key to get it to do whatever you want. So, but yeah, we can't adjust any of the settings here. Like you can't turn on or off RGB stuff or music or MIDI or do any of the MIDI stuff yet. Or Unicode, or all the tap dancing stuff you can't do here yet. So there's still a lot more that needs to be added.
And if you want to do anything with custom programming, which honestly what most people do with that is not program it themselves, but they take something that somebody else has programmed and copied into their keymap, which is not always the ideal way to do it, but anything that gives people the functionality they want is fine with us.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to share those code snippets too, in a way that like we can talk about them in a little configurator, I think is pretty cool as well.
Yep.
Cool. Mac Merlin in chat is asking, if people want to contribute to QMK, what are Jack and Scully looking for?
A warm body. Anything really. I mean, if we get a lot of contributors doing like ports like Mac Merlin's been doing, or just adding keymap, we find that pretty valuable just to have a huge collection of keymaps where people can see like, oh, what are the other users doing with this keyboard, or what's some cool stuff that's happening with the Plank stuff, because like there's been some layer innovations we've done with that. To people that are more hardware based and say, okay, I want to support this module or do this thing, and so by porting it or whatever or coding it, I can add support to QMK and therefore add support to all the keyboards that are in QMK to support this little dongle or something.
And even for people who are not technical, one of the biggest things we need right now is just more and better documentation.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of guides that get written for QMK that we would rather honestly kind of like to see them, merged into QMK itself. And that way we can keep them up to date. That way everybody can benefit from them and we can kind of move towards this more ideal documentation.
As we see, like especially like on Reddit, like they'll make a text post, and it's great. I think that's awesome. They're like describing what to do step by step. But there's lots of guides that are out there that get archived that aren't. People can't comment on them anymore, and I'm not sure you can edit stuff that's archived anymore on Reddit. But like, and that link is now on Google. So if you type of like QMK how to, that's there. It's accessible, but it can't be edited, it can't be updated. No one can like ask questions in it. And so it's just kind of a bad format to have like permanent information like that. And so we're trying to get that, if in the QMK folder, when you download that, you actually have all the documentation in there as markdown files. It's in the docs folder. And all those can be edited and pull requested the same way that you do all this other code stuff. So if you would go to QMK firmware and then the docs folder, you'll see all the documentation we have. And all of that is just rendered onto docs.qmk.fm. Markdown is really easy to edit, by the way. If you click on one of those files, you'll be able to see, if you're not familiar with it, just how, well, that's how it's rendered. Hit the edit button at the top or the raw button. And that's what it looks like when you're editing the actual code. Those backticks indicate that that portion is a code segment or whatever. Yeah. Really,
otherwise,
really
it's basically Reddit formatting. Otherwise,
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna skip a few of these questions that were kind of already covered. A lot of people asking basically just how do I help with the config.qmk.fm layouts, but you kind of already went over that. So I'm gonna skip a couple questions on that. Another question: I've made a keymap for my FC660C via the TMK webpage thing. If I loaded the .hex into QMK, would it read the code correctly so I can go from there? No biggie if not.
Unfortunately, no. So once you compile the .hex, that's like the binary. That's like the end result, and it's hard to like decompile that or deconstruct that into code, especially at this level. So you can't really take the .hex, but you can take the source files for that binary. I'm not sure what site you're using. If it's did they clarify what configurator it was or anything? I'm not familiar with like the TMK.
I don't know.
Is it a TKG?
It's probably TKG toolkit or whatever.
Okay, I'm not super familiar with that either.
As I recall from looking at that, the way the website works is they have a pre-made hex and they just substitute part of the hex out when you make a key map. So I don't think that's something we can do.
Well, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't play well with like source. Clever, but not very useful.
Yeah, it's clever, but we have a number of assumptions in QMK that doesn't work with.
Yeah, but in the future, one thing that we're kind of looking into, or at least I have with hardware-wise, is storing the. I'm not sure. Other people have been doing it too, and I think actually the Zeal60 was looking at this a lot. Was how to store a keymap in the EEP. So that would allow you to never update your firmware and keep that kind of locked, and then only update your EEP, which can be done without the DFU mode and everything. It can basically be done, through a web app really, or a mobile app or whatever. So that's something we're definitely looking into, and I would like to get support for that because I think it's pretty huge in terms of what you can do with it really.
Cool. Melodit is asking, so I made a KLE for the DZ60. What were we supposed to do with these?
Rewind a bit and
yeah.
But
A few people have been asking that basically like throughout the last 25 minutes. Yeah, so we already kind of covered that. So if you just want to go back to that portion of the VOD once we're done with the stream, which will probably be pretty soon, you can just go through and rewatch that part, and they talked exactly about what you can do.
But yeah, it's qmk.fm/converter is the app that we built to do that, and then it's just editing the info.json. Just to like summarize real quick.
Yeah.
I imagine they probably asked that earlier. But...
All right, we are fully caught up on questions, and we are a little over the 2-hour mark. Was there anything you guys had closing thought-wise before we head out here?
One thing I think we could try real quick is if you go to the docs.qmk.fm, there's actually an edit button, or there should be an edit button on there, where if you see a mistake like inline, you can actually just change it and submit a pull request really quickly.
Where?
And just like docs.qmk.fm.
Oops, not the beta one, the normal one.
It might be in the beta too. There's like an edit on GitHub basically.
Edit on GitHub,
so like,
yes.
yeah, if there's something wrong on the main page, try click on that and see where that takes you. Yeah, so that's the page on GitHub, and then you just hit the add button, and that'll jump you into the code where you can just change it. If you have a GitHub account, it'll make a fork, it'll branch it, and it'll allow you to submit a pull request, which I think is, I think hopefully pretty easy for people to to fix stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully, Brian and I, when we have free time, can add a few things to this from what we've learned today, because it seems like from what people have said in chat, while these are all the helpful commands and things you need, they aren't necessarily the most explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still a little bit of assumed knowledge there, a little bit.
And when you're going to edit the stuff, try to make small, not necessarily small changes, but like a lot of the stuff, a lot of the structure, we like to kind of collaborate on more. So if you make a pull request with like deleting a bunch of documents and like merging stuff together and like putting stuff over there and kind of mess up, we're probably not going to be too like excited to merge it. So if you make an issue talking about like how stuff's structured, or like maybe suggest different formatting for a certain section, we're much more likely to just chime in and talk more about like like the decisions we made to come to the point it was then, and maybe like be like, okay, yeah, that is a good idea. Let's go with that instead, or see maybe there's another alternative that we can get people to kind of chime in on and have more feedback on, and move forward with that. So, yeah.
So in terms of pull requests and communicating with you and Zach and everyone, what would be the best way? Through GitHub itself, or like through Gitter?
I think it's pretty. Gitter is probably the first line of attack, just because we're usually can like respond right away and just kind of give you a big thumbs up, or like a kind of a hesitant, or kind of guide you which maybe which way we should go with it. But yeah, if you're hesitant to do that, I just make an issue. We try to get to them. Like there's a lot of issues that just get abandoned because we kind of lose track of them. But being in the Gitter, you can get an instant response, and it's a little easier to keep track of. You can always ping us about the issue too, like, hey, I opened this 4 weeks ago, why haven't you responded to it? So it's always welcome.
Awesome.
Well, I learned a lot today. How are you, Brian?
I am actually a little overwhelmed still, but I feel what I'm going to be doing is probably going through the VOD multiple times.
Yes.
Try to soak up that information in a little bit shorter bursts, because I'm just like, I feel so frazzled right now.
I feel like I'm gonna start getting everything like memorized, because I have to go through and edit all of this for a condensed version by Sunday. Yeah. So I feel like that's gonna help internalize everything I've done today.
Yeah.
If I didn't take away anything, remember that you can hop in the Gitter and always ask a question. So
I will probably be doing a lot of that.
We look forward to it.
And another thing with the Gitter, like I know there are some people that try to give support for QMK like privately and stuff like that, which I think is great. Like I'm glad that they're trying to get people help. But a lot of the times, I think just about all examples. Maybe I'm glancing over some, but I think usually like doing it in a public space like Gitter allows us to see like what common questions are and like what people are having issues with, and hopefully and try to improve the docs or just the overall experience, but also for them to get help from more than one person, possibly someone that's more experienced with the issues they're facing, and kind of crowdsource the solution. So I always try to go either to the Gitter or sometimes we're kind of, the OLKB subreddit is kind of the official place for QMK stuff on Reddit, but I think stuff there gets missed sometimes. So if you feel like that's not the right place, maybe go to the GitHub or the Gitter instead. So,
all right. We'll take one more closing question that just came in. Xenophobia is asking one more question. What resources are available for people who want to design QMK compatible PCBs/keyboards?
It's a good question. Something I need to work on. Really, it's any keyboard that runs an AVR chip is going to work. Like that's one thing nice about QMK is that we try to support everything under the sun, and there's very little that isn't supported that's commonly used. I think the only new thing I can think of is like that new hand wired chip that Spindle made that uses a Atmega X. I think we haven't gotten that stuff working yet, and there's some new ARM stuff that we're working on that isn't quite supported, but I don't think any other keyboards use it besides the ones we made.
The input club boards use ARM still.
Well, yeah, we have those working though.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones we aren't working.
So for anyone who wants to make a PCB, the resource I recommend all the time is on Geek Hack. There's the Living PCB design thread, and it's really long and there's a lot in there, but if you read that top to bottom, you will know more than you ever thought you could about how PCBs and keyboards work.
Awesome.
And we're always happy to answer questions about that too. Like Scully and I are in Gitter all the time, and we're happy to talk about our keyboards and what we did to design them. And I didn't design a whole lot of mine, but answer any questions we can, because we know quite a bit about the hardware side of it too. So
awesome. Hooray for open source and people that actually help. Turns out,
well,
those are
a
important.
lot of our hardware isn't necessarily open source, but we're happy to talk about it, and help others that are trying to do the same thing. So,
most definitely. All right. Well, now it's probably as good a time as any to wrap up, since we're caught up on the questions. So maybe we can do some kind of follow-up stream at some point, just to see maybe a little bit more advanced stuff once Huey and I retain more of this knowledge and get a little bit more comfortable with it. Yeah.
In before QMK pop quiz stream.
Oh, that might be cool actually. Like just test our knowledge.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Well,
Anyways.
Thank you both of you so much for joining us and spending time out of your day to help us with QMK, getting started, setting up our environment, and walking us through some of the basics of QMK and how to expand on our knowledge as well.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we take off here, guys, feel free to, announce any closing thoughts and pimp out any of your brands, etc., just so people that don't know who you are can get a little bit more familiar with you.
As you can see on the screen, OLKB, OLKB.com. Obviously, QMK stuff is at QMK.fm. Subreddit /r/OLKB. If you like Orthonia stuff or QMK stuff or whatever, that's my stuff.
Yeah, and I'm at Clueboard, CLUEBOARD.co, and the best 66% in the hobby.
Best 66. Oh, whoops! I added one too many W's.
Someone asked about running on @tiny. I think you can. I don't know if anyone runs QMK on that. I don't think it's been done, but I'm sure it could be. But,
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Well,
I think some boards actually use @tiny as an add-on chip. I don't know if that counts.
hopefully this stream helped as many people in the chat, as much as it helped Brian and I. Feel free to rewatch it on the VODs like Brian and I will, because there's a lot of knowledge to soak up in this video.
It's a lot to take in.
By Sunday, there's also going to be a condensed version. This whole video looks like it's at 2 hours, 18 minutes. Most likely, the condensed version will probably be under half an hour, TBH, because
Hopefully,
a
yeah.
good amount of it, other than small explanations, is like you guys looking at my MSys screen and it just downloading just stuff.
hmm
So
We go. I think I was pretty happy with the. We were able to fill that time and do other
that's
stuff
true.
though. I think
That's
I
very,
was
very true.
yeah.
Worst case scenario, it'll be split into several shorter videos, like maybe just one on how to set up an environment, the next on
Yeah.
how to change a single key on your keymap and flash it. Um,
I think
I
that
will
could,
decide that as I start editing tomorrow morning, or later tonight whenever I start editing. But expect at least the first video of an edited version of the stream on Sunday.
bam.
But the whole VOD will also be available for anyone who wants to sit through and get the extra explanations and all the background. Watch it live in person. I mean, 2 hours and we learned a lot. So it worked out really, really well. Thank you once again, Jack. Thanks you once again, Zach, for helping us so much. Everyone, thank you for
For putting
watching.
up with our nonsense.
Yes. Our normal
No
show
problem.
is every Thursday at 6 Pacific. And we'll be seeing you next week or at whatever future build stream we may be having.